Let's unbox and assemble your brand new Portamix Mega Hippo. And this is our Gen 2 unit with a 3-speed 20 amp motor. To start out, let's open up the box. We're going to take out all of the different components here. The liner and body of it is actually all in one piece, so I just cut this one little flap on the side to be able to flip it up. But honestly, it might be easier to leave it on the side to be able to just add the casters right there. This is the dust extraction port. It's easier to take that out if you need to remove the liner. You will notice that the barrel spins around a little bit. That is because it is not currently secured. We'll be adding a set screw to that a little bit later. And this is your removable liner, which you can replace as needed. Now let's take a look at everything that you should have inside of your box. These are all the items that should be in there, with the exception of potentially a Portamix branded margin trowel. Going from left to right, we have the Portamix Mega Hippo canister, which includes the liner, cradle, and the frame. Then we also have our box with our paddles in it. It's 2 paddles in there. We have our box with our motor. We have our operating and safety manual. We have our box with all of our casters as well as the hardware for them. We have our box with the handle for the unit. We have our motor mount, and we have the lid. First up, we're going to slide in the motor mount. To do this, we move the spring pin to the unlock position and then slide it in. There are 2 locking positions that you can actually do with the motor mount. There's one position for active use, which is that lower setting point, and then there's a higher point for changing your paddle or cleaning the paddle. This is the top handle of the device. I installed this pretty low to the bottom, but depending on what product you're mixing most often, if it's a little bit heavier, you might actually find it a little bit easier to put it more towards the top. I like the idea of it being kind of supported by that little lip at the bottom of there. And as for every single bolt that you're going to need to tighten on this today for installation, you'll be using a 13mm. And now we're going to secure that set screw to the canister to make sure it's not wiggling around. So we're going to line up the threads with the hole by the frame of the unit, and we're going to screw it in by hand first and then tighten with that 13mm. Now we'll be moving to installing the casters. This is the back of the unit, so we will be using the casters with the locking mechanism on them. When installing the casters, you're going to want to put in the bolts that are lining right over the frame first, because that part has a built-in nut on the other side. This will allow you to set the position of the caster easier to move on to the other bolt and nut combos on the open side. There is a little play with the mount on these casters, so make sure that you do have it lined over the holes properly before you fully secure it. And now on the front side, we're going to be using the one without the locking mechanism. So same story here. I start on the side with the set nuts so that it's easier to get our bolt in there and make sure everything's aligned up. Add our washers just above the nut to make sure things stay snug, tight, and work correctly. And we're going to use our 13mm to tighten this all up. Now that we have our casters on, we're ready to install the motor. So we're going to move our motor mount to the down position. We're going to make sure that its set screw is loose, and we're going to grab our 20 amp motor. And you can tell that by looking at the plug here. If you are going to be working at 15 amp places, just make sure you get an adapter for that. Just a simple one from a hardware store should work. And I like to set it so that these 3 speeds, because the 20 amp is a 3-speed motor, the 15 amp is a 2-speed motor. I like to set it so that the 3 speeds are facing to the right. This way it leaves the power line easy to kind of loop back by the handle. Next up, we're going to tighten the set screw to make sure that this motor stays in place and doesn't go spinning all over the place. Inside of your manual, you'll actually have this little bungee cord, deceptively high tech. So we're going to put it over the top, and that's just going to be what holds the lid in place. And now we also have some small set screws for the side of the barrel, and this will hold the base of the lid in place on both sides. And you have 2 paddles. One paddle is actually the small batch and one paddle is the large batch. So small batch is 3 bags, large batch is 5 to 6 bags. The Hippo paddles do not use a quick release for installation, and this is actually due to longevity of the product itself. The paddles just need to be screwed into place. And I actually like to use the lower helix portion of the paddle itself to get that final torque and ensure that the paddle is fully in place. If you have any troubles threading your paddle, be sure to clean out the threads and make sure that you're getting that perfect connection. And there you have it, a fully assembled Portamix Mega Hippo Gen 2 unit. Also, don't forget to register your Mega Hippo at portamix.com/warranty-registration. That gives you an additional year of extended warranty from Portamix. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the other resources we have available for Portamix users. Until next time, keep mixing with the best.